Welcome to the MMHP and the 989. Channeling all styles and eras of Michigan music history from the city by the bay. And now, here's your host, Scott Baker.
This is an MMHP special edition, year 2 of our MMHP special on the Hell's Half Mile music portion of the show. We're going to bring in Mr. Don Hessell once again to give us the lowdown on this year's guests, his artists, and his choices, and how the music has rolled out over the years, including a wrap-up of last year. We hope you enjoy this. Thank you.
So we'd have like maybe 3 or 4 during the year showcase events. We haven't done that, and we probably need to get back to it. I've been talking about doing it outside of Hell's Half Mile, but like with Hell's Half Mile support, kind of pull something together where it is a group of people who, plan these events. So it's not just straight coming from Hell's Half Mile, it is the local music community and anybody who has buy-in or, that is all on board with promoting music in the area.
But yeah, we're here with the MMHP and the 989 for our very special annual Hell's Half Mile edition. And Mr. Don Hessell's here. How you doing, Don?
Good. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate you having me on the podcast. Love what you guys are doing. And, of course, I love talking about music and Hell's Half Mile.
Oh, beautiful. Last year we had such a great response, and we did a little indie show with Ben Padgett last year. And it was we kind of said after we should make this an annual thing, and I know Gary was really pushing for it. Gary can't be here tonight, Dr. J. However, we got Sir Fred in the house. Mr. Mike's here along with me, Scott Baker, and we wanted to invite Don back because he's going to actually give us a little insight on this year's performances, as well as anything that he will allow us to use ahead of time to promote. And we're going to put this show on, obviously, before and not on delay like many of our shows are. So you guys are going to get to hear this first for many of you.
Cool.
So what's this year entailed? I know you've been working your tail off for a year now, buddy.
Yeah. So, as soon as the festival ends last year, we probably just take a few weeks off and get right back at it and planning. And it takes a village, as they say, but, we're an all-volunteer, non-profit festival, and we're lucky to have local support for everything we pull off. We're in our 17th annual festival. It just seems weird. Like, we kept working towards 10, and I think when a festival reaches 10 years, they got momentum. You can make it 10, you can keep it going, and we've been doing really well by that. Recently, we've had some pretty big news that just floored us, and I think this is going to bring us up to the next level. Movie Maker magazine listed us on the top 25 coolest festivals in the world.
Unbelievable.
And I'm just beside myself. I'm very much floored about this. We're on the list with Sundance, South by, and Cleveland, all these big festivals, and we're in there. We're this small Michigan town that most people haven't heard of. We're a scrappy nonprofit festival, limited resources, but we do some really cool things here. And I think when filmmakers come to town, they really have an experience. And the word of mouth we've gotten from them has been priceless. I mean, we get people submitting their films to us and saying, hey, we've heard some great things from this filmmaker and this filmmaker. And so it goes a long way, and I think it's going to help us locally here, but also amongst filmmakers.
Outstanding. Wow.
So,
great news. Can I interrupt and
yes,
ask,
go ahead.
is Traverse City on that 25?
Nope.
Let's stop for a second, everybody. And,
Yeah. Well, so Traverse City is not on the 25, and actually they called it quits this past year.
Really?
They're done.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They it's a long time running. It's exhausting to pull off a festival.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It's sorry to hear that too, because that was a fun one. But there's literally, I don't know, there's over 5,000 or 6,000 film festivals in the world, and
to be in the top 25.
To be in the top 25,
Dog.
recognized by this is a pretty big deal for us. So segueing into music, I think the music aspect of our festival really helps with that cool factor, right? So I think about it from a filmmaker's point of view or a festival point of view. They come to town, they're seeing films, and you watch films all day, and in the evenings you go see live music, and it has that South by Southwest feel.
Yeah.
So it brings art together, and we're bringing bands in that most of the time most people around here wouldn't necessarily see, unless they traveled.
True.
And so filmmakers come to town, other guests come to town. They have a real experience. They rock it all night. They go to the films, they go to the music, then they go to the after party, and they drink the Kool-Aid, and then they spread the word, and then all of a sudden,
all these 17 years later, you're finally landed in the top 25 countdown here of a national magazine. That's glorious. And this is your third or fourth year, Don, running it for the music, or more?
As far as me doing the music, this is my third year doing the music. For the last 12 years, I've been doing the film.
Right.
But I took this on. I'm passionate about both. And to me, music and film go together like chocolate and peanut butter. They really complement each other. As a filmmaker, I really love to incorporate music into my films. But as they come together in town here, it really makes for a fun weekend. So
great, man. Well, congratulations.
Thanks.
What is what's your outlook this year, and what are you able to tell us as of the second week of August here?
Well, we got the whole lineup ready.
Well, if you can spill the beans.
So let me spill the beans.
Yeah.
But let me go through each night, because this is the way it's set up.
Absolutely.
So Thursday night's our opening night. We have an opening night reception at Pier Marquette Depot. Where a lot of times we're meeting our guests for the first time. They come into town. We pick them at the airport, or they drive here. We go to our opening night film. From there, we go to our opening night music after party, and we do that at Old City Hall. This year, we got a band that I've really fallen in love with from Indianapolis called Karate Guns and Tanning. Karate Guns and Tanning is like nothing I've really heard. It's a female-fronted three-piece band, and I guess this is what I wrote down, because I feel like even this doesn't do justice, and it sounds like a lot. It sounds like soup, because I've thrown every adjective in here. Psychedelic tinged post-punk shoegaze and dream pop.
Wow.
And so you got the whole synthwave sound. You have guitar. And then, of course, shoegaze is just one of those genres that I really love. Female vocalist, she's amazing. But it sounds like it's heavier music, and in some ways it is, but it's also danceable and fun. And our opening night, I feel like that goes really well with it. Everybody's getting off on the music. We packed that place because, well, there's only so much room, but also people want to see what this is all about. I think these guys are going to be great. A lot of times they'll have some sort of psychedelic projection behind them, but of course in this venue I'm not sure if we'll be able to pull that off. But that's one band I really want people to check out. I feel like they're going to really love it. I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
Sounds like something you want to have in your freezer for after the day is done.
Yes.
Woo, all that description.
Yes. Yeah. Karate, Guns, and Tanning. So then our next night of music, Friday night. This is where we do it over at Michigan Table. And instead of a full night of music, we really only just do one band there. First, what we have is a filmmaker reception. This is open to all guests with passes anyways. And then at the end of the night, after the reception, we bring in the band. Last year we had Damn the Witch Siren, and that was a blast. I really feel like they went over well. That venue itself, acoustically, has challenges, but the style of music, I think, with the right bands, I feel like it really works. And that leads me into the band that we have. It's Moonbow from Cincinnati. We actually had them in 2018. They played our opening night party, but they didn't play a bigger stage. So we're bringing them back because they're a big hit. People were asking about them. Plus, these guys are kind of a new wave synth pop sound, which really sounds better in that venue than a lot of guitar and drums, right? You've been in my table, it's a bit echoey, but that music really worked for that last year, and so we're going back at it. These guys they're a two-piece band. male and female. They harmonize a lot, but their music, and especially being connected to the party, it's very much upbeat. When I listen to it, I imagine windows down in the summertime, cruising through. It's got a 1980s sound, kind of like New Order, Human League, Talk Talk, Thompson Twins, that kind of feel and sound. And I think it's going to be a fun one to have. When we had them in before in 2018, they had that whole room dancing. And again, that's kind of what we want with that type of party night. Whereas Saturday is more of a rock night, show. I think that's where that night works best for us. So
okay,
that's what we have. Moonbow. Moonbow from Cincinnati.
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
Saturday night. Last year was just a blast. We had 3 amazing bands, and it's like, man, how do you top that? Well, you don't. You make it just as good because that's pretty freaking great. So the 3 bands that we have, first we have this band from Lansing called Lovers. Basically, LVRS, some people call them, really that's short for Lovers. This is a female-fronted 3-piece indie rock band. They kind of have like dance-worthy rhythms. They're a little smooth. They're just not straight up indie rock. Probably a little more like atmospheric in their sound, smoother vocals. Kind of think about like the Cranberries. I hate to make a comparison to any one band because they sound like themselves. There's nothing else like this band. They're really great live. This is a band that I think people are going to love. And it's really nice to bring something from, Michigan, Center Michigan, Lansing.
And you've seen them, I assume?
I have seen them, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I've seen, I want to say I saw them it was either Hamtramck or Detroit. And I thought we either had them up here for a showcase event or we're talking about it in the past. It's been a while. So,
okay.
They're fantastic. The next band is from Hamtramck. Speaking of Hamtramck, it's the Kelly Jean Caldwell Band. Now, this is kind of, some people say cosmic country, but it's a mixture of like Americana, jangly 60s alt country, garage, freak folk, and their music is like beautiful and haunting, and also with a sense of humor. Do you remember Goober and the Peas or Blanche? Right?
Yep.
Kind of like that, but with a female front in a way. Not the, completely shit kicking of Goober, but very much in that same vibe. What's really cool, Kelly Jean, she is married to John from the band, the Henchman from Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
That, garage rock band. Those two own Outer Limits in Hamtramck, and they bring in so much great music there.
Wow.
A lot of great bands. And so both of those two have multiple bands. Another band of John's is Eck, which, you don't really see around as much, but they're a really great band. Kelly Jean's got another one called Wiccans.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, they're really great. I think she's very creative. Spooky and sweet band, I would have to say. Let me just read you the lyrics of one of these songs. I had this wrote down. Do you think it's fucked up that every day I imagine you doing some terrible thing to me, something you aren't even capable of, like carving your favorite band's name on my coffin before they lower me down?
That's awesome lyric.
It's dark and humorous, but like the songs are more upbeat and fun, but with the darker, humorous lyrics. But she's a commanding force. I kind of feel like she is part of Detroit music royalty. I'd put her up there, with, the White Stripes and those other big bands that have been around a while. Everybody knows her. And they have something really great going at Outer Limits. Outer Limits is a bar they own together, but also a record label. And so they're putting out some really cool stuff. I did say, if you're ever going down to Detroit and want to catch out some music, head on down to Outer Limits, because they're going to bring in some bands that you won't see anywhere that are, really out of the way bands that you'll never have heard of or seen of, and some that you will, but definitely one that I'd really recommend.
Excellent. That'll be a fun show. Now, I see a theme here. Every band's been female fronted, I believe.
Well, I'll tell you what. Our main headliner is also. So, Moonbow is kind of a combination. It's
husband and wife.
Yeah, it's that duo, and so I mean, we're gonna get a mix there. But I tell you what, women really rock. The stuff they're putting out right now is just incredible, and it's easy to fall in love with. There's a lot of other bands we looked at. It just kind of fell in this way.
So this is the year of the Lilith here. This is the Lilith half mile.
well, last year was a little bit like that.
Yeah.
Too,
Totally.
You know?
A lot of them. It seems to be what Don's bringing to town, I think.
Yeah.
Don knows what he likes.
It was like our friend Jay. He's like, yeah, I'm all about the female-fronted bands. He says, I've heard everything guys have to say.
There you go.
Women are doing some cool stuff.
That's awesome.
So, our main headliner for that Saturday night is from Portland, Maine. They're our band called Weekend Friends. Weakened. Weekend Friends. They're another female-fronted three-piece indie rock band, but they're a modern sound, but with a 90s alt throwback, like alt rock with some grunge. I hate to make a comparison, but like Veruca Salt, but much better. I
love Veruca Salt.
So this band is one of those ones that everything they write just has so much hook.
Cool.
You'll have these songs in your head for days.
Nice.
Just give them a listen. You'll fall in love with this band. I've seen them play in Detroit on their last tour through. They played with a band called Sloth Rust at L Club. Really great live band. Highly recommend seeing these guys. And they've partnered with Jay Mascis from Dinosaur Jr. on some tracks. They've played big festivals, Pitchfork Festival in Paris. They played. They got 2 amazing albums that came out, and I promise you, give them a listen. Their music.
Can you say the band name one more time?
Weekend Friends.
Weekend Friends. Okay.
Weekend Friends. Kind of.
And Jay Mascis is involved. That sounds interesting. I'm a huge Jay Mascis fan.
Cheeky, snarky lyrics with a lot of attitude, but punchy and fun. I feel like that band's going to be a big hit, and that's somebody that, that was the first real band that we had our eyes on for a while this year.
Wow.
So.
And you've been working on them the longest, you're thinking?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Probably the longest. Well, there's some other ones. Lovers we're looking at since last year, but but these are some bands that we've been pretty excited about. Karate Guns and Tanning just kind of stumbled upon them. I do a lot of deep digs with music, and I found these guys because I, looked through a lot of shoegaze stuff, and these guys are that and a whole lot more. And I think they're going to be a pretty big hit too.
Awesome.
So,
what a lineup! Now, is there any that ends on Saturday night? Then there's no
music after that, technically, but we always,
usually find a local sometime, or have found a local. I've opened the fest on Thursday. I've closed the fest on Sunday.
Yeah.
And those are my 2 years that I've done it.
So sometimes we throw in some additional music.
Yeah.
It's not unheard of to do something during the day or at a super secret after party somewhere. So there's always an opportunity for something a little bit more.
Are we able to talk about any of the movie things today?
Actually, I can tell you a handful of the films that we have. Let me pull that up. So we got a little bit of everything.
I'm hearing ghosts on here.
Oh,
is it?
Reverb.
Yeah, there's still.
Oh, I'm like, this is crazy. You looked when I heard that. I'm like, okay. We better start dialing in the ghost meter in here. Man, this is cool.
So we got a mixture of films from all over the place. In terms of, we have narrative features, a ton of short films, docs, Michigan films, both features and shorts. trying to think if there's something that's music related.
Yeah, you've had a great selection of music-oriented films over the last 3 or 4 years.
I think there's some that has some music themes to them, heavy music themes to them that are quite fun, great soundtracks. But this year we don't have any music docs, which I think would really be great at our fest. But
Just didn't work out that way this
it
year.
didn't work out that way. There's one film in particular called Hundreds of Beavers, and this is like unlike anything I've ever seen. Super creative. It is mostly a silent black and white film with sounds. And this guy, it's a little bit of animation combined with stop motion and different things involved. It is one of the most creative. I can't even do justice to even what this is about. It is just down the rabbit hole, Alice in Wonderland type of story where.
Is this one of those Don Hessell productions?
No. No. That one's one of my favorites. Another one's Mad Cats. It's a foreign language film, but it's definitely ridiculous martial arts. A group of people are turning people into cats. But we have some great dramas, love stories, other docs as well. A doc about a doc. When the movie Chasing Amy, there's a doc called Chasing Amy. So yeah, fantastic lineup. Very excited about these as well.
Wow, man. Now, what took this year? What set it apart for you booking this year's music or getting to see how everything fell together? What was the challenges this year?
Well, part of it is, there's a lot of bands that you have on your wish list, and they get big quick, which means that they're out of our price range.
Okay.
They're booked on big tours.
That's not the first time I've heard that over the years. Yeah.
Yeah. You fall in love with the band and you think, oh my gosh, we got to get them here. And you're probably 6 months to a year too late because they blew up. Like they've been on your radar.
That's incredible. Not to interrupt, but a great Mid-Michigan music history podcast story that we have here in Michigan is the Simon and Garfunkel one where they got booked before they blew up. They blew up, then they got to town and they took their original fee. They said, no, we accepted it at that fee. The rest of the tour's the way it is. And they were very cool about it, I heard. And they came in.
There was just an article somebody put on Facebook about them writing in Saginaw,
America. Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
It was a good article.
That's a great
But
story.
it was cool hearing that at different spots throughout from either a promoter or musicians, like how they came to town and they were grabbed at a certain fee, but by the time they got here, I think the same with the Birds. I think the Birds were the same way too.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, you guys haven't lately. We've been missing a few because they've been blowing up faster than we can grab them. Right?
Yeah. There's there's some really amazing bands out there, but also this requires us to dig deeper.
Yeah.
Right.
So, is it you?
Yeah, it's me, and also feedback from other people as well. Everybody's looking. Jay's one of the first people to say Weekend Friends. We saw them together in Detroit, and we both love that band, and we're like, why not? So Jay
Glitz.
Yeah. Jay reached out to him.
Wasn't he at one point helping the board? Put this stuff together?
Yeah, he's still working in terms of helping us, check out music. I throw stuff at him. I'm like, hey, what do you think of this band? He's also a big fan of Kelly Jean Caldwell. Have been for a long time. And so, bringing both those guys here, stuff that Jay loves. I don't know. For me, Jay is always very much a tastemaker.
Mm-hmm.
If there's something that he says that he likes, I'm going to automatically listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
He's always ahead of the curve with everybody in terms of discovering bands, it seems. But he just has great taste.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Now, anything else that you guys have had run up against this year, or has it just been pretty easy getting along? Who you've asked, and they've all been wanting to. I mean, are these bands like automatically like, oh, it's a film festival, we want to be part of it, or do they go, let us get back to you and think about it, or how does that work?
It's a mixture of the two. So some people are like, hell yeah, let me just check to see if I'm available, and they're on board. Other ones are like, we need a little more information.
Yeah.
What's the venue?
Yeah.
Who else is on the bill?
Yeah.
Do you have this? Sometimes it really helps. Like with Weekend Friends, the management team, for those guys, they knew they're like Rat Boys. They love Rat Boys, and so it kind of gave us an in right there as soon as we mentioned it. So like, oh, very cool. We're really glad, And so it helps when we can drop names of the bands that we've booked. The fact that we've been around 17 years. Just because you want them and you have the money for it too, that doesn't automatically mean they want, they're sending their band over here.
Yeah.
They want a good experience.
Are some of these bands under management, or are a lot of them very indie and do their own thing?
I actually this year, I think they're all under, except Weekend Friends is the only one under management. The rest manage themselves. And we've had a mixture of that through the years.
I got a question that I've been wanting to ask, and it stemmed from watching last year's festival. And do you get callbacks from the bands that have played here and say, hey, can you remember us down the line?
Yeah.
Does that happen a lot?
Yeah. So we do get people reaching out.
Yeah.
They want to come back. They've had a good experience here. They're like, hey, we'd love to play. We typically, in the spirit of keeping things fresh, in the same way that we bring films that you're not going to be able to see here. We always try to keep things fresh with new music, but we'd like to bring bands back too, whether it's for a music showcase or let's say they played a small stage here the first time and they're a hit. So we put them on a big night, like Moonbow.
Yeah.
So Moonbow, they did well playing a small room here. People have been asking about them, like literally this year. So people are like, hey, when would have Moonbow back? And so
That's
why
beautiful.
not?
Wow.
So that was pretty exciting.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's a mixture of that. People, obviously these bands that have done well here and gotten new fans from being here had a great experience. And it's great to play in front of an audience and people show up here.
Yeah.
They come out.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And the venues are once again going to be.
So
opening night will be
at Old City Hall.
Old City Hall.
Yeah, Old City Hall, that side room in there. Michigan table.
For the second night.
And back to the Dunlop.
The Dunlop. What room are we calling? What do you call that now?
Building
The garage.
The garage. Okay.
We have the showroom.
We have the showroom stage now and the garage because we're using the showroom stage for other things. So that's cool.
And there is something to be said about creating an atmosphere when you have a band, right? It's like anything else where it's like going out to a theater. If it has an atmosphere to it, and this room transformed. Dion had this vision, and it's just plain garage, but it's got so much history to it. He really made it funky cool.
I am glad you mentioned his name. After seeing last year, after we did the original podcast and got to a vision last year and how it went down here at the garage, all the work Mike has talked up to last week about how Dion laid it on here and how he did making this a stage, a presence for such an old building.
Rewiring of
yeah.
stuff.
Well, we did. He got this up, and which is nice because going back to it, it's already wired. Don't have to worry about that. There's a lot of pieces here. These things that he put up that used for curtains. So.
Yeah, he just put a hell of a lot of work into it, and that's why Mike wanted the vision to continue. I mean, whatever we can do throughout the year to make it a venue. I mean, we're right between the one-ways. This could very easily turn into a tiny St. Andrews Hall type vibe. From folkies to all, and everything in between.
I agree completely, and I think a lot of it has to do with making something an event. I mean, it's one thing to say, we have a show, we're playing this venue. It's another thing to say, build something around it. Why is this special? Why is this more than just some bands playing, right? Whether it's a theme, you got to hype it up in a way so that it's It's like the 3rd Street Starbridge street party, and I'm moving over, but that really much had a theme and momentum behind it like that. It had a great turnout over there at Westtown.
Yeah.
So I think it's the same thing with his. I think we identify a date. You got to figure out resources. How are you going to pay for it? Get sponsorships, whatever it takes, and make it an event.
That room was crawling with people all night long.
Busy.
Different turnouts at different times, different people at different times. People walking around, coming back, people buying merch, getting autographs, people hanging out with the artists. It was fantastic last year.
Yeah, we've been pretty excited. Sugar Tradition, those boys have went on, and I think they're playing a tour with a pretty big band coming up here. They're playing a lot of shows. They were just into it. They had a great time. Rat Boys, they're doing a tour. They got a show coming up in October at Magic Bag. I'm definitely going to be there.
Cool.
That'll be a great one.
She wanted to come up here and do a solo stuff.
Yeah.
She was asking me about it. She wanted to come to Scotty's or somewhere around here if she could. And I have actually not had the time putting out the new album myself to get back to anybody. But she was like, hey, if you think about it, we want to do a songwriters night. Get a hold of Don or you call me, she said. And I said, all right, so.
Yeah, that'd be really great. I think she's an incredible songwriter, singer, and it was wonderful to have them. And same with Party Nails from LA. It's interesting, some of the filmmakers that were here went and saw her in LA she went back there because they had a festival, like film festivals that they went to there, and so they ended up meeting up and seeing her play there.
Wow, that's cool. That's awesome how it works. Well, thank you, Don,
for
this year's update. Thank you to the MMHP listeners for checking in and getting your fix here of the indie music for Bay City and mid-Michigan. We are a complete Michigan-based podcast as well as music family, and we're grateful to have not only the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame here in Bay City, but top 25 worldwide Hell's Half Mile Film Festival and Music Festival, and curated by Mr. Don Hessell. Thank you, Don.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
The MMHP is hosted on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and our own Libsyn podcast site. You can also search MMHP 989 on Facebook for up-to-the-minute information, as well as both Dr. J and Sir Fred's album picks of the week, posted every weekend. You can connect with Scott on the web at scottbakermusic.com, Dr. J at MichiganRock'n'RollLegends.com, Sir Fred at FredRife.com. Brought to you by Michigan Rock and Roll Legends, located both inside the Bay County Historical Museum on Washington Avenue, as well as Scotty's Sandbar on Evergreen Drive at the Bay City Middle Grounds.
On behalf of the hosts, Gary Dr. J. Johnson, Sir Fred Rife, archivist and videographer Mike Beatty, and myself, this podcast wouldn't be here without Studio 163's Alan Garcia, the voice of MMHP, Mr. Eddie Switek, all of our guests, and you, the listeners.
You've been listening to the MMHP and the 989. From all of us at the podcast, we want to thank you for tuning in.
Was that Ann Arbor one on there? On that list?
No.
Really?
Well, Ann Arbor's
Lately.
Ann Arbor's film festival's been going for a long time. They're over 50 years.
Right.
I've been to that one many times, because I used to live in Ann Arbor. It's a great fest. It's such a small number that they're picking from. Like Austin Film Festival's on there. Other festivals around Europe are on there. It's really a small amount. And so the way they do it is Movie Maker magazine picks a group of filmmakers to curate the list. And they take feedback from other filmmakers as well, but they're the ones that help create the list. And it just so happens that a few of the people that have been to Hell's Half Mile were on that committee. Because really, this is the only way you're going to make that list. Because if they've never been here, how do they know?
How would they know?
We've joked about that list for the longest time. We in our description, it's the top 25 coolest festivals. We in our description for our festival on Film Freeway, that's the place where we accept all the films in. We actually wrote number 27 in the top 25 coolest film festivals in the world in 2022. In parentheses, just a prediction. Because we've joked about it, but there's no way we were ever going to be on this list, and it's so weird.
Oh, this is great, man.
It's great.
Congratulations. This is so cool.
It feels weird because in the company that we're in, I mean, I don't think people realize what it takes to pull off a film festival in terms of like budget. You have Cleveland. Now they're not as big as, I mean, Cleveland's pretty big, but there's bigger festivals. Their budget is like $4 or $5 million per year.
Whoa.
Wow.
Per year.
Wow.
And I know it's crazy. So in order for them to pull that off,
Does anybody ever look at how they get funded?
so would they, so there's a lot of different ways they get funded. There's a lot of grants. They got sponsorships. They got a lot of stuff going on in terms of, different returning money. Their tickets just to see one film, it's like 16 or 17 bucks. And they said that only covers a portion of really what it's, all the other money helps subsidize the cost of that coming in. They also do fundraisers during the fest. So they have a booth that's particularly there just for fundraisers. So all film goers, when you're seeing movies and stuff, getting your popcorn, seeing a movie, you can also go over to the booth and do a donation. Their goal, and they reach it every year, is $125,000 they get from festival goers
That's so
that
helpful.
give to that booth.
Wow, is that something to think about, huh?
Well, it is, but we were realistic as well. It's hard enough just to get people in the door for tickets. It's just 'cause people are taking a chance on, these are independent bands, independent films. We've thought about trying to get bands with names, but even the bands without names that nobody knows are still very expensive. There's a band called Dead, spelled DEHD, out of Dead. They're just called Dead. They're out of Chicago. I love the hell out of this band. I wanted to get them. Anyways, I emailed them and I said, I ended up their management company. They're like, well, we're getting 10 to 15,000 for a show. For a 40-minute set, 10 to 15,000. Wow. How do you even? We're like, well, that counts us out. There's just no way.
Yep.
So the things that have helped us, obviously, besides in-kind donations and things and volunteers and everything, is Dry Dock. So you know how that's.
Oh yeah, nonprofits.
So Dry Dock, we own that with the State Theater. And so that helps us be more sustainable. We got a mortgage. We had that built back there. That mortgage should get paid off after 2 years. That park, we are able to have that there. Don Sabron owns that park. He bought it, and along with the building next door. So he's a big partner with the fest. So he's letting us use that. So we partner with the state. We make money on the weekends that we have it, because you only get so many nonprofit liquor licenses a year. So we use it, and then when we're not using it, we let other nonprofits use it. And then they pay a small fee, which we also collect on that. But we help them run it and show them how to do that too. But it takes a lot to make anything happen. And that's why, for me, it's a struggle to figure out how do we bring bands, like we raise money all year round just to pull off the one festival. But if we wanted to book these same bands, how would we financially pull it off? It would be more sponsors, but as a festival, the sponsorship money, we're trying to ask them for money for our main festival. We ask them for what? For more for another event? It's harder.
Yeah.
It's just hard to. It's awful. It even feels embarrassing to ask for money sometimes, but
Dude, it completely does.
It's like, hey, could you help us out? But we've been fortunate because there are some people here that are good about giving and throw money at it. But the other thing is, when you're there's a lot of different things you could donate to for nonprofits, right? But I think donating to something that one, it's the arts and it's fun, and your name's out there for that. Being your name associated with something that's fun, it translates better.
I get
So,
you. Yeah.
But
Does Delta help out at all with anything, or SVSU being nearby?
no,
That'd
not,
be really cool because you think of Austin,
yeah.
Austin City Limits, the local PBS there. I mean, it's all entailed, and
Well,
we have those two here. It's like,
Well, I take it back. Delta definitely we do get. I take it back. We do get help from them, but there's only so much to go around. Probably we get to use Delta Planetarium. We're very fortunate to have that as a film venue, because there's a rental fee with that. They probably give us a break on that to some degree. We have, at SVSU, there's professors there that donate their time with the festival, and so there's that. But,
I'm thinking just the getting the word out and
yeah,
because I guess they already have enough hard time, our local ones, enough as it is.
so we do try to connect with them. Delta's got their own press group of people who put out what's it called, their Delta paper.
Collegiate, yeah.
The Delta Collegiate. So we connect with them to put stuff out. SVSU, they have this cards party. So all these vendors come in and all the students come to this thing and you get a booth. So we promote there, and the professors that are there also help promote us there.
Cool. Gary was a former one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I really think that it's important that we have this conversation of how do we make more music things happen here.
Yeah.
During the year. As happy as I am about pulling this off every year for Hell's Half Mile, I just want it's a coming out for live music, especially independent music. It's a learned thing, right? I kind of think about it. I make the analogy about craft beer. Back in the day, it was like, what's this craft? Like, I only know Bud and Miller. What's this, right? And then people started, they were like, oh, wait, there's some really great beer out there. There's some really great bands out there.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yep. I love that analogy. And you've been using that with me since we've gotten to know each other.
Yeah. And so, yeah, if we could figure out ways to pull it off, because, I mean, you got to have the sound, you got to pay the band.
Yeah. Who's doing the sound?
It's the same. They slightly changed names. It's, what is that? It was A-Dubs, but they changed it because they're doing more A-Dubs audio.
A-Dubs Audio. I never.
Yeah, is now A-Dubs Audio Services LLC. They did more DJ stuff in the past, but for the last 2 years, we've used them and we've been pretty happy with them.
Mm-hmm.
I think we used different people in the past, but we've been happy with these guys. We had some other people like a few years ago on the line, and they're like, sorry, we can't. Like, we had them lined up, and then we had to scramble, and these guys picked up the ball. So we're like, all right, you saved us. We're gonna
Stick with you.
Stick with you, yeah. And they come in, they got good equipment. They're, pretty great with the bands.
Sounded great last year. All the venues.
I thought so too. But yeah, if we can get some more shows here, I think you got to identify a time and say, all right, we want it November, and then dial back from there. All right, when should we get promoting? All right, what band? You just got to set it into motion, because talking about stuff, only goes so far.
Right.
You got to say, all right, we're going to make this happen.
Yeah.
And then how do we get people there?
Yeah.
So we're fortunate enough people do come out for this. Sometimes I think it's a mixture. What we get is the mixture between half the people gave a listen and think, oh my gosh, I got to see that band. The other half is, hey, this looks like a fun party. Let's show up.
That's true, and it turned into a lot of the momentum these years.
Mm-hmm.
Has turned into, whether you're into it or not, or whether your expectations are going to see something great or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's more about the party and the vibe.
Yeah, but
For a lot of people.
but like I look at the photos, the video I have of everybody grouped around the stage, all in.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, and that's kind of also why we have two areas, like having the flow back here.
Yeah.
So you can go, if you want to hang out and talk and drink, you can go over there.
Yeah, man.
If you want to get to the band, you come over here. And I think that we need to have more stuff like that. And if you take a look at a lot of successful venues, like music venues, like L Club, that's another one. You have your main area, and then you have the bar area.
I was there for the first time, when was it, April?
Yeah.
Saw, was it Warren Treaty there?
Oh, yeah. There's also so what's really neat is the band Lovers is opening for Weekend Friends on a Friday night in Detroit and then playing here. So what was really neat is they kind of booked their tour around us. So you see where their Weekend Friends are touring. We got to them first earlier on. So they were like, okay, let's see where we can play leading up to Hell's Half Mile. For them to drive from Portland, Maine, just to us didn't make sense. But they're like, all right, that's an anchor point. We're gonna go find other